In this presentation, I would like to take a look at the summary of procedures for performing the engine start and run activity. We definitely want to pay attention to the expectations in this presentation. First and foremost, before beginning this activity, you need to have your safety glasses on. Students are not permitted in the shop when we have the oil and the gasoline out, and especially when we're running engines without safety glasses. I realize most of these other activities have been performed without them. There are no exceptions to this rule for this particular activity. You need to have a signature on your technical inspection sheet before proceeding to the oil and the fuel stage of your engine. If your engine is missing components or components are improperly installed, do not attempt to fuel or oil your engine at this time. Please take care of that situation and then proceed to the technical inspection one more time to make sure that you're good. Once the technical inspection has been completed, you need to install the correct quantity of oil. There is another instructor check for having the correct quantity of oil in your engine before you are permitted to proceed to the fueling stage. Once you proceed to the fueling stage, you need to have about 4 ounces of fuel installed in that engine. Really no more and no less. Please do not fill the fuel tank full. That takes too much fuel from other students and can be a significant fire hazard should something go wrong. So less is more. Additionally, please make sure there are no fuel cans close to the engine running area. Your tech inspection paper needs to be in hand before you proceed to the engine running area. Please do not attempt to run your engine with no paperwork for me to inspect and no place for me to sign. It makes it very difficult and it inhibits the flow, if you will, of students while they're running their engine. Lastly, the engine running activity is a one-to-one. That means me and you. We run the engine together. We don't run 4 or 5 of them at a time. It's a one-to-one activity. Do not attempt to run your engine without supervision and without me being essentially next to it while you do this. This is both for verification of the engine's performance and the safety aspect that is essentially a liability at this point in time. So if something were to go bad, I need to be in the immediate vicinity to address the situation in a prompt manner. Lastly, after your engine runs, assuming there are no issues with it, which there really shouldn't be, if there are issues, you need to address those. If you choose not to address those, there will be a point demerit for each particular issue found with your engine. If you choose to address those on your own, there is no point demerit. Simply proceed back through the inspection, back through the oil and the fuel stage as necessary until your engine runs without issue. After your engine runs, please drain your oil and your fuel into the appropriately designated containers and get a sign-off on your completed, well-running engine. Once you've completed your tech inspection, you're ready to proceed to the phase where you install oil into the engine. So I have oil set up for you. More than likely, it's going to be in this fine container of a recycled oil, aptly once labeled SuperTech hydraulic oil. I do have a funnel included in it for easy filling. This engine holds probably about 20 ounces or so of oil. So just be kind of careful when you're pouring it that you don't overfill. Again, we're going to add the oil till it's approximately at the bottom of the threads. Taking a look at the dipstick, we want to fill until we're at this point on the dipstick models. I'll go ahead and install that funnel. Like I said, she holds about 20 ounces or so of oil. The correct spec oil for these engines is 10W30, by the way. I'm going to just open up a fresh quart here. I'm going to put 10W40 in it, but I think we'll probably be okay as far as that's concerned. That feels pretty close to the appropriate amount of oil. Let that drain for a sec. Tip it. Okay, looks pretty good. See what we see on the dipstick. And I'll let you be, if you're sitting like this one, 1/8 of an inch from the full, or excuse me, over the full, you'll be fine. If you're up into this area, I'm gonna have you drain a little bit out. So I think we're okay at this point in time to move on to the fueling stage. Once your appropriate signatures have been completed, I'm going to go ahead and remove that just because it gets in my way. You may proceed to the fueling stage. So all the amount of fuel that we're going to add, I'll just try not to spill, but essentially we just want to cover the fuel filter in the bottom of the tank. So that should be a sufficient amount. Let's go ahead and check, and it appears so. Interesting trivia tidbit. There is a charcoal filter in that fuel cap. That's part of the reason behind the size of it. Put the little fuel gauge back in, one click, should be ready to run. For the controls, I'm gonna make sure our fuel is turned on, our ignition is turned on, and since this is a cold engine, we're going to apply the choke. I'm gonna make sure nothing flammable is immediately around the engine. I've put the gas away, I've cleared an area, I know where my fire extinguishers are, should be ready to go. So it is normal as your engine warms up to need less choke. Once it's ran for about 30 seconds or so, you shouldn't need the choke on it at all. Seeing some smoke coming off the motor is completely normal. There is unfortunately a penalty for excessive smoke billowing forth out of the exhaust. And by that I mean a very long amount of time of blue smoke or something like that could indicate something wrong with let's say your piston rings or something like that. So I'm not going to penalize you for just having an excessive amount of oil in the cylinder or anything like that. Governor hunting, like what you heard in the beginning where it wants to self-rev, I'll let you get away with that for probably about the first, 10 seconds or so. Once that engine warms up, it should stabilize and be able to run without choke. So if it still needs choke, definitely go back, check your gaskets, make sure you have the correct ones installed and things like that. If it still needs choke after that, double check how you put that carburetor back together. Since this engine ran, no issues, it's got no leaks, anything like that, it's nice and dry. If you do tip it a lot, gas will pour out of the carburetor, so kind of avoid doing that. Go ahead and drain your fuel and drain your oil at this point. Be very mindful that the cylinder jug, the muffler, and associated parts are extremely hot because we've been running this engine for a minute or so. With that being said, good luck, and thanks for watching. This has been a look at the summary of procedures for running your Honda GC Series engine.